So what would you tell anyone out there who's thinking about opening a game store now in 2018?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, don't. It's too late. Stores like this, video game stores like this, are definitely dying.
I first met Steve back in 2011. Now, before then, they actually opened up around the time that Halo 3 released. If you remember that was back in 2007. In fact, their biggest midnight release that they've really ever had was Halo 3. Steve told me he actually had to stand on top of the counter because the store was just so packed full of people. But now in 2018, things are a little different. I originally was gonna go do something with this store at some point with a video, but after calling him about a week ago, I knew I needed to get there soon because there wasn't much time left, and I really don't know any other smaller independent stores around me that I could go do a special at. So once I talked to him on the phone, I knew I had to get up there quick. Now, the store we're talking about today is called Experience Gaming. It was opened back in June of 2007, and it's located right in the middle of Middletown, Delaware. It's actually on a very busy street, the big main street that goes through it, and then one that crosses going north and south as well. So it is in a great location. And the biggest thing here is the competition in that area is very small, strangely small, and that's because Middletown was still very much so growing when Steve moved in. He was kind of the first real entertainment store, in this case video games, that happened to pop up there. So you're fortunate because when you were here, there was no GameStop here.
Never was, no. Has never been a GameStop in Middletown.
But Walmart did eventually move in across.
Yeah, they moved in about a year after we opened up.
Now, how for like a big business like that to show up, how did that affect like the smaller businesses, like for example?
For us, they had an impact. For us, they definitely had an impact, but they weren't enough to really slow us down too much.
Okay.
You know, because they did have an impact, but it didn't.
They don't even really. I mean, they do use games, right? But they're not advertised well.
They don't do. Yeah, you don't. A lot of people don't know they have used games.
Yeah, they kind of stuff them in a drawer in the back or something. So you never.
What we were losing was a little bit of the new game sales, and honestly, from a business standpoint, we don't make as much money on the new games as we do everything else. So
sure.
Losing a little bit of new game sales hurts more because of the trade you get, because that's where your money's at. But it didn't hurt that much.
Okay.
Didn't have a big impact.
Now, despite Steve trying to really change with the times, doing things as far as trying to match the Best Buy Gamers Club, where he would actually mark down new games if you were part of a membership, it still wasn't enough. And unfortunately, the digital age is pretty much taking out different independent stores as they go along. He also went with retro games, which did help kind of stimulate sales. However, getting retro games is kind of difficult when it comes to trade-ins, which is the easiest way to make actual profit. If you start buying things off of eBay, off of Amazon, your profit margins become very slim. So unfortunately, with the ever-changing world of video games, it was just a matter of time. So you guys have been around for 11 years now.
Yep.
And you're fortunate because you're going out on your own terms, right? It's not like you're not like getting kicked out or something.
No.
Like how a lot of people end up doing when they
We decided
run a
last September it was pretty much going to be the end.
Okay.
When we come around to the spring of the new year. It's just a matter of when
Sure.
we could get out of the lease, and the landlord's been pretty good about that. So it's time to move on.
Yeah.
Video gaming has changed a lot, and
So
it's tough for the little guys.
So in 2007, how was it different from now?
Well, there was no digital. That's the big difference.
That's a good point.
That's the huge difference.
Yeah. So you guys, you felt the digital push here.
Oh, most definitely, especially in the last 2 years, you see the digital. And
Okay. So since like the
that's
PS4 and the Xbox One came out, it got
It's,
like
it began the process of everything going digital. And it's
Right.
obvious that Sony and Microsoft want you to be digital. So the consumer, and it's convenient for the consumer, maybe a little more costly, but it's convenient for the consumer.
Can you give me an example though of like a game, like how many would you order of like Call of Duty Black Ops or Black Ops 2 compared to how many you would have ordered for like, I don't know, a World War II or something?
I will tell you, when Black Ops come out, we probably ordered $20,000 worth of goods.
Jeez.
When World War II came out, it did pretty well. We probably ordered $1,000 worth
Wow.
of goods.
So it's that because you have to make sure you have the right budget and stuff set up from it yourself.
It easily was probably 20 times as much 5-6 years ago as we ordered now.
Wow.
Because it just don't see many purchases on the new games anymore.
I think something a lot of people don't realize is how hard it is to run a video game store now in 2018 when the manufacturers and even the console providers are even fighting you by making games become digital, and then of course production and different costs on the rise constantly. It's very difficult to be the little guy next to places like Walmart, GameStop, things like that.
I mean, all you want to do is think of the movie industry and the blockbusters and the movie galleries. It's heading in the same direction.
You think that's where the games are going right now?
It's heading in that direction. Yeah. It's all going to be digital in a few years or sometime like that. And that's unfortunate, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, I of course couldn't leave without buying something, so I quickly picked up a silver GameCube. My GameCube stopped reading discs, and the lasers tend to be a little pricier than I'd like them to be. Maybe that'd be a fun video to change out a laser in a GameCube. However, I did pick up the silver GameCube because that is the GameCube that I had when I was younger, and unfortunately it was destroyed in like a flood. So when I saw this, I had to pick it up. One, it's a small game store. You gotta buy stuff whenever you go to a small game store, even if something little, like just a PS2 game or something. And then, of course, I needed it for, well, we'll probably do a tech wave with it, to be honest. We'll take it apart. But I picked up a silver GameCube, $50, not a bad price overall, and it is a very good looking system. It's almost mint, I'd say. we kind of learn from what we're seeing here with Experience Gaming and then other stores. Well, one, while it is kind of a dream for a lot of people, almost a fantasy, or even looking to merge their hobby with a job and open a game store, it seems to be less and less worth it. Maybe back in the late 90s, the mid 2000s, it was a great time then to at least open and profit from the video game business, but as we've seen, it's becoming harder and harder to keep a store open. Even retro games are harder and harder to get. While there are new accessories, the games themselves are of course limited. There's a finite amount and they're not producing more. So if you're ever out and you happen to come across a retro game store or an independently owned video game store, a mom and pop store, maybe stop by and see what they have, maybe pick up something little or something big even, because the next time you go to that area, they might not be there anymore.